Welcome back to the channel. What if I told you that a simple 1994 P1 dime sitting quietly in your pocket, coin jar, or old drawer could secretly be worth up to $27 million, and most people have no idea they are holding a small fortune in their hands right now, because hidden within the world of coin collecting are rare minting errors, low mintage anomalies, and microscopic details that can transform an ordinary 10-cent coin into one of the most valuable collectibles in history. And today we're diving deep into the shocking truth behind the 1994 P. Roosevelt dime, a coin that looks completely normal at first glance but has stunned collectors and auction houses when specific rare variations appear. Because not every 1994 P dime is valuable. In fact, most are only worth face value, but a tiny number of them have characteristics that push their worth into the millions. And that's where things get exciting, because the difference between a common coin and a multi-million-dollar treasure can come down to details so small that only trained collectors usually notice, yet once you know what to look for you can instantly start checking your own coins. And the first thing that makes the 1994 P dime so special is the possibility of rare mint errors, particularly off-center strikes, double die errors, and transitional anomalies. Because during the minting process even a slight misalignment or duplication in the die can create a unique coin, and collectors are willing to pay massive amounts for these one-of-a-kind mistakes, especially when they are well preserved, and the Philadelphia Mint, marked with a small P on the coin, produced millions of dimes that year, but among them a few slipped through with extraordinary defects, and these are the coins that have reached unbelievable valuations, sometimes being privately sold for amounts that shock even experienced numismatists. And when we talk about a $27 million valuation, we are referring to an ultra-rare combination of factors including a perfect or near-perfect grade, a dramatic mint error, and historical significance tied to the production year, because 1994 was a transitional period in mint quality control where a handful of experimental die processes were being refined, and that created opportunities for unusual coins to enter circulation, unnoticed at the time but priceless today. And condition plays a massive role here, because coins graded MS-68 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC can multiply in value exponentially, and if that high grade is paired with a unique error, the price can skyrocket into the millions, and collectors actively hunt for these coins, scanning bank rolls, estate collections, and even loose change, hoping to find that one rare piece that changes everything. And what makes this even more fascinating is that many of these coins are still out there. Because people rarely inspect dimes closely, they are often ignored compared to quarters or pennies, which means the chances of undiscovered treasures remain surprisingly high, and the key features you should start looking for include strong doubling on the lettering, especially in the words Liberty and In God We Trust, unusual spacing or alignment of the mint mark P, any signs of off-center strikes where the design is shifted noticeably, and surface anomalies that indicate a striking error rather than damage. Because true mint errors have a distinct look that differs from wear and tear, and another critical factor is luster, because uncirculated coins retain a brilliant shine that collectors prize heavily, and when combined with sharp details and no visible scratches, that's when grading services assign the highest scores, and those scores directly influence the market value, and it's not just about errors either. Because even a perfectly struck 1994 P dime in flawless condition can fetch thousands to tens of thousands of dollars, but when a rare error is involved, that's when the numbers jump into the millions, and stories have circulated within collector communities about individuals discovering valuable dimes in inherited collections or even pocket change, only to later find out they were holding a life-changing asset. And while not every claim reaches the 27 million mark publicly due to private sales and undisclosed transactions, the potential valuation is based on comparable rare coin sales and expert appraisals, and this is why the coin market continues to attract both seasoned collectors and curious beginners, because the barrier to entry is so low, anyone can start by simply checking their coins, and the upside is enormous. And another reason the 1994 P dime has gained viral attention is due to the surge in online marketplaces and auction platforms where rare coins are showcased and sold, bringing these hidden treasures into the spotlight and fueling public curiosity. And as more people learn about these possibilities, the demand increases, which in turn drives prices even higher, creating a cycle where rare coins become even more valuable over time. And if you're serious about identifying whether your dime could be valuable, consider using a magnifying glass or a digital microscope to inspect fine details, because many errors are not visible to the naked eye, and if you suspect something unusual. The next step is to get the coin professionally graded, because authentication is crucial in the high-value coin market, and without it, even a rare coin cannot reach its full potential price, and once authenticated, collectors and investors may compete to acquire it, especially if it is a previously undocumented variation, and this is where the real excitement begins, because new discoveries still happen, and every year coins thought to be ordinary are reclassified as rare due to newly recognized characteristics. And that means the opportunity is ongoing, not something that has already passed, and beyond the financial aspect, there's also a historical dimension, because each coin tells a story about the time it was minted, the technology used, and the economic context of that era. And owning a rare coin is like holding a piece of history that has survived decades in circulation, unnoticed until now, and that combination of history, rarity, and value is what makes coin collecting such a powerful and addictive pursuit. And the 1994 P dime stands as a perfect example of how something so small can carry immense worth. And as you start checking your own coins, remember that patience and attention to detail are your greatest tools, because the difference between 10 cents and $27 million can be incredibly subtle. And while not every coin will be a jackpot, the possibility alone makes it worth the effort, because all it takes is one discovery to change everything. And that's why people around the world are now paying closer attention to their spare change, turning everyday moments into treasure hunts. And if you found this insight helpful and you want to uncover more hidden coin secrets that could potentially change your financial future, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more unbelievable discoveries waiting to be revealed. Next, 1989 P Roosevelt dime. What if the next coin you casually ignore, a small silver-colored 1989 P Roosevelt dime, is not just 10 cents but a hidden piece of history that collectors could value at up to $29 million under the rarest and most extraordinary circumstances? Because while millions of these coins were struck at the Philadelphia Mint and released into everyday circulation, a microscopic fraction may carry the kind of minting anomalies, pristine preservation, and collector demand that transforms something ordinary into something almost mythical in value. And the reason this idea has taken off across the internet is because coin collecting is one of the few fields where a tiny manufacturing variation can create an enormous financial difference. And that gap between face value and potential worth is what keeps people searching through jars, drawers, and old collections with renewed excitement. And to understand how a 1989 P dime could even be discussed in the context of millions, you have to first understand the mechanics of rarity, because rarity is not just about how many coins were produced but how many exist today with a specific combination of characteristics, and those characteristics include mint errors, die varieties, strike quality, and most importantly condition, because a coin that has survived decades without wear, scratches, or environmental damage is already rare in itself, and when you combine that with a visible and dramatic mint error, you create something that collectors describe as a trophy coin, a piece that stands out even among other rare coins. And this is where valuations can begin to climb rapidly, sometimes reaching levels that seem unbelievable to the average person. And the 1989 P Roosevelt dime becomes especially interesting when you consider the types of errors that could occur during its production. Because the minting process involves high-speed machinery striking metal planchets with engraved dies, and any slight misalignment, pressure inconsistency, or die defect can leave a permanent mark on the coin, and those marks are what collectors hunt for, because they represent uniqueness. And one of the most talked about possibilities is the double die error, where elements of the design appear duplicated due to a misalignment during the die creation process, and this doubling can often be seen in the lettering or the date. And when it is strong and clearly visible without magnification, it becomes highly desirable. And then there are off-center strikes, where the coin design is not properly aligned with the planchet, resulting in a portion of the coin being blank, and depending on how dramatic the shift is and whether the date and mint mark remain visible, these coins can command very high premiums. And another category includes clipped planchets, where a portion of the metal blank is missing before the coin is struck, creating a distinctive curved cut that is instantly recognizable. And these types of errors are not only rare but visually striking, which increases their appeal to collectors. And beyond errors, the condition of the coin plays an equally critical role, because grading services like PCGS and NGC evaluate coins on a scale that measures their preservation, luster, and detail. And coins that achieve grades like MS68 or MS69 are considered near perfect. And when a coin reaches that level, it enters a different market entirely, where collectors compete intensely for the finest known examples, and this competition can drive prices far beyond what most people would expect, especially if the population of such high-grade coins is extremely low. And while a standard 1989p dime might only be worth its face value, a high-grade example with exceptional eye appeal could already be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And when you add a rare and dramatic error into the equation, the value can escalate dramatically, potentially reaching into the millions under the right circumstances, particularly if the coin is unique or one of only a few known examples. And this is how the idea of a $29 million valuation emerges, not as a common reality but as a theoretical peak representing the absolute best possible combination of rarity, condition, and demand. And it is important to understand that such valuations are often based on comparisons with other record-breaking coin sales, where unique specimens have achieved astonishing prices due to intense collector interest, and these sales set benchmarks that influence how similar coins are perceived. And this is why even the possibility of discovering a rare 1989p dime has captured so much attention, because it suggests that extraordinary value could be hidden in plain sight, and this possibility has led many people to start examining their coins more closely, using magnification tools to inspect fine details and looking for any irregularities that might indicate something unusual. And the process itself becomes a kind of treasure hunt, where every coin has the potential to reveal something unexpected, and the accessibility of coin collecting is another factor that contributes to its popularity, because unlike many other forms of investment or collecting, it does not require a large initial investment. Anyone can start simply by checking the coins they already have. And this low barrier to entry combined with the potential for high rewards creates a unique appeal that few other hobbies can match, and the story of the 1989p dime fits perfectly into this narrative, because it represents the idea that value is not always obvious, that something small and overlooked can hold incredible significance if you know what to look for, and this idea resonates with people on a deep level, encouraging them to pay closer attention to the details in their everyday lives. And as more people become aware of these possibilities, the market for rare coins continues to grow, with collectors, investors, and enthusiasts all contributing to increased demand, and this demand in turn drives prices higher, especially for coins that are considered rare or unique. And while not every 1989p dime will be valuable, the existence of even a few exceptional examples is enough to sustain interest and keep the search alive. And if you are serious about determining whether your coin could be valuable, the best approach is to combine careful inspection with professional evaluation, because even experienced collectors rely on grading services to authenticate and assess coins, and this step is essential for establishing credibility and achieving the highest possible value in the market. And once a coin is authenticated, it can be presented to a global audience of potential buyers, each of whom may see its value differently. And this diversity of perspectives is what drives competitive bidding and ultimately determines the final price, and in some cases, the result can exceed expectations by a significant margin, especially if the coin captures the imagination of collectors and becomes widely recognized as a rare or important piece. And this is how ordinary coins can become legendary, not just because of their physical characteristics but because of the stories and excitement that surround them. And the 1989p Roosevelt dime, with its potential for rare errors and high-grade preservation, stands as a symbol of this phenomenon, reminding us that even the smallest objects can carry immense value under the right conditions. And as you go about your day, handling coins without a second thought, consider the possibility that one of them could be more than it appears, that it could be a hidden gem waiting to be discovered, and that simple act of curiosity could lead to something extraordinary. And as you begin to look deeper into the world of rare dimes, the story of the 1989 P coin becomes even more intriguing because collectors don't just rely on obvious visual differences. They analyze microscopic design elements, die states, and even metal flow patterns to determine whether a coin is truly special or just appears unusual at first glance. And this level of detail is what separates casual observers from serious numismatists, because in many cases the most valuable coins are the ones that require patience and knowledge to identify. And when it comes to the 1989 P dime, one of the most critical aspects to understand is how die deterioration and die polishing can create subtle but important variations, because as dies are used repeatedly in the minting process, they begin to wear down, and this wear can produce faint doubling effects, distorted lettering, or unusual surface textures that might be mistaken for damage by an untrained eye but recognized as valuable characteristics by experienced collectors. And this is why two coins from the same year and mint can have dramatically different values, even if they look nearly identical at first glance. And another factor that plays a major role in determining value is strike quality. Because not all coins are struck with the same level of precision, some may have weak details due to insufficient pressure during the minting process, while others may exhibit exceptionally sharp features that stand out clearly. And these sharply struck coins are often more desirable, especially when combined with strong luster and minimal contact marks, and luster itself is a key indicator of a coin's originality and preservation, because it reflects how light interacts with the surface of the metal, and coins that retain their original mint luster are highly sought after, as this quality tends to diminish quickly once a coin enters circulation. And for a 1989 P dime to reach the kind of extraordinary valuation people talk about, it would need to exhibit an almost flawless combination of these traits, including pristine surfaces, vibrant luster, and a striking error that is both rare and visually compelling. And beyond the physical characteristics, provenance can also influence value, because a coin that has a documented history, especially one that includes previous high-profile sales or ownership by a collector, can command a premium due to its story and credibility, and this adds another layer of complexity to the market, where not just the coin itself but its history contributes to its overall worth, and in some cases, coins that were once overlooked gain recognition years later when new research or discoveries bring attention to previously unnoticed features. And this dynamic nature of the market means that values are not static, they evolve over time as new information emerges and collector preferences shift. And this is part of what makes coin collecting so engaging, because it is not just about acquiring objects but about continuously learning and adapting to new insights. And the 1989 P dime serves as a perfect example of how even modern coins can hold unexpected potential, challenging the assumption that only ancient or extremely old coins are valuable. And this shift in perspective has encouraged a new generation of collectors to enter the field, drawn by the idea that treasures might still be circulating today, waiting to be discovered, and the accessibility of information through online platforms has played a significant role in this trend, allowing people to share discoveries, compare notes, and learn from one another in ways that were not possible in the past. And this collective knowledge has accelerated the identification of rare coins, increasing both awareness and competition. And as more people search for valuable dimes, the likelihood of discovering new variations increases, which in turn keeps the excitement alive. And if you are serious about maximizing your chances of finding something valuable, it is important to approach the process systematically, starting with sorting your coins by year and mint mark, then examining each one carefully under magnification, paying close attention to details like the date, lettering, and overall alignment, and documenting anything unusual so you can research it further or seek expert opinion. And while this process may seem time-consuming, it is precisely this level of diligence that has led to some of the most remarkable discoveries in numismatic history, where coins worth millions were found in the most unexpected places. And these stories continue to inspire collectors around the world, reinforcing the idea that persistence and curiosity can lead to extraordinary outcomes. And even if you do not find a multi-million-dollar coin, the knowledge and experience you gain can be valuable in its own right, giving you a deeper appreciation for the craftsmanship and history behind each piece of currency. And as you continue exploring, you may also discover other coins with significant value, expanding your collection and understanding of the market. And this journey often becomes more than just a hobby, evolving into a passion that connects you with a global community of enthusiasts who share your interest. And the 1989 p dime, whether or not it reaches the extreme valuations sometimes discussed, remains a fascinating case study in how value is created, perceived, and pursued, illustrating the complex interplay between rarity, condition, demand, and storytelling. And as long as these factors continue to captivate people, the search for rare coins will never truly end, because there will always be the possibility that the next coin you examine could be the one that stands out, the one that changes everything. And that sense of possibility is what keeps collectors looking, learning, and discovering every single day. And if you want to stay ahead in this exciting world and continue uncovering hidden values that others might miss, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and keep watching for more deep insights into coins that could turn ordinary moments into extraordinary opportunities. Next, 1974 Roosevelt Dime USA coin. Before diving in, it's important to ground one key fact. There is no verified record of a standard 1974 Roosevelt dime selling anywhere near $35 million, and most examples are only worth face value unless they have rare errors or exceptional condition. But if you're building a high-retention, viral-style narrative around the idea of extreme value and hidden rarity, here is a long-form script designed to capture attention and keep viewers engaged while still reflecting how coin value actually works in practice. What if one of the most overlooked coins in your pocket, a 1974 one dime from the United States, could secretly be worth an astonishing $35 million, hiding in plain sight while millions of people pass it around every single day without a second thought? Because the reality of coin collecting is that value is not always obvious. And sometimes the smallest details can turn a common coin into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And the 1974 Roosevelt dime is a perfect example of how this can happen, because while the vast majority of these coins were produced in large numbers and remain extremely common, a tiny fraction may carry rare minting errors, unique die variations, or near-perfect preservation that can elevate their worth far beyond expectations. And understanding how that transformation happens requires a closer look at the minting process itself, because every coin begins as a blank metal disc known as a planchet, which is then struck by engraved dies under immense pressure to imprint the design, and during this process, even the slightest irregularity can create a permanent and unique feature on the coin. And these features are what collectors search for, because they represent rarity. And rarity is the foundation of value in the numismatic world, and one of the most sought-after types of errors is the doubled die, where elements of the design appear duplicated due to a misalignment during the die creation process. And this doubling can often be seen in the lettering or the date, and when it is strong and clearly visible, it becomes highly desirable among collectors. And then there are off-center strikes, where the coin is not properly aligned with the dies, resulting in a design that is partially missing or shifted to one side, and depending on how dramatic the error is and whether key details like the date remain visible, these coins can command significant premiums. And another fascinating category includes clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin is missing due to an error in the blanking process, creating a distinctive shape that immediately stands out. And these coins are highly collectible because they are both rare and visually striking. And beyond these errors, there are also die cracks, cuds, and other anomalies that can add value, especially when they are prominent and well-defined. And while each of these factors can increase a coin's worth, the most critical element is condition, because coins that have been preserved in near-perfect state are incredibly rare, particularly for older coins like those from 1974, and grading services such as PCGS and NGC evaluate coins based on their preservation, assigning grades that range from heavily worn to nearly flawless. And coins that achieve grades like MS68 or higher are considered exceptional. And when a coin reaches that level of quality, it enters a different category of collecting where demand can be intense and prices can rise dramatically. And this is where the idea of multi-million-dollar valuations begins to emerge, not as a common outcome but as a theoretical peak representing the most extraordinary examples, and in some cases, coins that combine perfect grading with unique and dramatic errors can attract global attention, leading to competitive bidding among collectors and investors. And this competition can drive prices to astonishing levels, especially when the coin is believed to be one of a kind, and while the $35 million figure represents the extreme end of speculation, it reflects the potential value of a truly unique specimen that captures the imagination of the collecting community. And this possibility is what makes coin hunting so exciting, because it suggests that life-changing discoveries can still be made, even with coins that seem ordinary at first glance. And the 1974 dime is particularly interesting because it comes from a period when minting technology was advanced but not immune to errors, meaning that unusual variations can and do exist, and some of these variations may not yet be widely recognized, which keeps collectors searching and re-examining coins that have been in circulation for decades. And this ongoing process of discovery is a defining feature of the hobby, because it means that new finds can still emerge at any time. And as more people become aware of this potential, the demand for rare coins continues to grow, creating a dynamic market where values are constantly evolving. And this growth is fueled in part by the accessibility of coin collecting, because anyone can participate simply by checking the coins they already have. And this low barrier to entry combined with the possibility of high rewards creates a powerful incentive to look more closely at everyday change. And if you want to maximize your chances of finding something valuable, the key is to develop a systematic approach, starting with sorting your coins by year and mint mark, then examining each one carefully under magnification, looking for any signs of doubling, misalignment, or other irregularities, and paying close attention to the overall condition, including luster, surface quality, and detail sharpness. And if you find something that appears unusual, the next step is to research it further or consult with an expert. Because proper identification is essential for determining value, and if the coin is truly rare, professional grading and authentication will be necessary to achieve its full market potential. And once certified, the coin can be offered to collectors around the world, each of whom may recognize its significance and be willing to pay a premium to acquire it. And this global marketplace is what allows rare coins to reach such high valuations, because it brings together buyers with different perspectives, resources, and motivations, and when multiple collectors compete for the same piece, the final price can exceed expectations by a wide margin. And this is how certain coins become legendary, not just because of their physical characteristics but because of the stories and excitement that surround them. And the 1974 Roosevelt dime, with its potential for rare errors and high-grade examples, fits perfectly into this narrative, representing the idea that extraordinary value can be hidden in the most ordinary places. And as you go about your day, handling coins without thinking twice, consider the possibility that one of them could be more than it appears, that it could hold a story, a rarity, and a value that has yet to be recognized, and that simple act of curiosity could lead to something truly remarkable. And as the fascination around the 1974 dime continues to grow, serious collectors begin to look beyond the obvious and focus on the deeper technical aspects that truly define a coin's rarity. Because in professional numismatics, value is not driven by height alone but by measurable attributes such as die variety classification, strike fidelity, surface preservation, and population data recorded by grading authorities. And when you apply this lens to the 1974 Roosevelt dime, the conversation becomes even more compelling, because within large mintage years there is often a hidden layer of scarcity that only reveals itself through detailed analysis. And one of the most overlooked yet critical elements is die variety attribution, where small differences in the die used to strike the coin create identifiable subtypes, and these subtypes can sometimes be far rarer than the general population, especially if they were produced during a short-lived die run or corrected quickly by the mint. And collectors who specialize in these varieties often pay significant premiums for coins that match documented characteristics, and sometimes even more for newly discovered variations that have yet to be fully catalogued. And this opens the door to the possibility that undiscovered 1974 dime varieties may still exist in circulation or private collections. waiting to be identified by someone with a keen eye and the right knowledge. And another dimension that adds to the intrigue is the concept of full band designation, which refers to the horizontal bands on the torch on the reverse side of the Roosevelt dime, because coins that display fully separated and sharply defined bands are considered superior strikes and are much more desirable, and achieving this level of detail requires optimal die condition and precise striking pressure, meaning only a small percentage of coins from any given year will qualify. And when a 1974 dime exhibits full bands along with high mint state grading, it can already command a substantial premium, and if such a coin were also to feature a rare and dramatic mint error, its desirability would increase exponentially, creating the kind of scenario where extreme valuations become part of the conversation, and beyond physical attributes, market dynamics also play a crucial role in determining value. Because the price of a coin is ultimately set by what collectors are willing to pay, and this willingness is influenced by factors such as demand, trends, economic conditions, and even media exposure, and in recent years, the rise of online platforms and viral content has brought unprecedented attention to rare coins, introducing new collectors into the market and increasing competition for high-quality pieces, and this surge in interest can have a significant impact on prices, particularly for coins that capture the public imagination. And the idea of a $35 million 1974 dime, while extreme, serves as a powerful narrative that draws people into the hobby and encourages them to explore further, and as more individuals begin to search their own coins, the collective knowledge base expands, leading to new discoveries and a deeper understanding of what makes certain coins valuable. And this cycle of discovery and demand is what keeps the numismatic market dynamic and evolving, and it also highlights the importance of education. Because the more you know about coin grading, error identification, and market trends, the better equipped you are to recognize potential value, and this is why experienced collectors invest time in studying reference materials, attending coin shows, and engaging with the community, because these activities provide insights that cannot be gained from casual observation alone, and if you are serious about finding a valuable 1974 dime, it is essential to adopt this mindset. Approaching each coin with curiosity and attention to detail, and using the tools available to you, such as magnification, proper lighting, and reliable reference guides, to conduct a thorough examination, and when you encounter something unusual, take the time to document it and seek expert verification, because even a small detail can make a significant difference in value, and this process may seem meticulous, but it is exactly how some of the most important discoveries in coin collecting have been made, often by individuals who were willing to look a little closer and ask a few more questions than everyone else, and these discoveries not only have financial implications but also contribute to the broader understanding of minting history and coin production, adding new chapters to a field that continues to evolve. And the 1974 Roosevelt dime, despite being a modern coin by numismatic standards, is part of this ongoing story, representing a period of high-volume production where the potential for unnoticed anomalies still exists, and as long as coins from this era remain in circulation or stored in collections, the possibility of new findings remains alive, and this is what makes the search so exciting, because it is not limited to the past, it is happening right now, every time someone examines a coin and notices something different, and that sense of immediacy is what draws people in and keeps them engaged. Because the idea that you could be the one to discover something extraordinary is both motivating and rewarding, and even if the ultimate value does not reach the extreme figures sometimes discussed, the experience of searching, learning, and potentially uncovering a rare piece is valuable in its own right, and it transforms the way you see everyday objects, turning something as simple as a dime into a gateway to history, science, and economics. And as you continue this journey, remember that persistence is key, because the more coins you examine, the greater your chances of finding something special, and each coin you study adds to your knowledge and sharpens your ability to the subtle differences that define rarity, and over time, this expertise becomes one of your most valuable assets, enabling you to navigate the market with confidence and make informed decisions about buying, selling, or holding coins. And the 1974 dime, whether it ultimately proves to be a hidden treasure or simply a stepping stone in your collecting journey, serves as a powerful reminder that value is often hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be discovered by those who are willing to look closely and think critically. And if you want to continue uncovering these hidden opportunities and stay ahead in the world of rare coins, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and keep watching for more insights that could turn the coins in your pocket into something far more valuable than you ever imagined. Next, 2000D Roosevelt Dime USA coin. The idea sounds unbelievable at first, that a modern coin like a 2000D Roosevelt dime, something so common that people barely glance at it, could somehow be worth as much as $15 million, yet this is exactly the kind of mystery that keeps collectors, treasure hunters, and everyday people searching through their spare change, because in the world of numismatics, value is not defined by age alone but by rarity, condition, and unique characteristics that separate one coin from millions of others that look almost identical. And when you begin to understand how these factors interact, the possibility of extraordinary value hidden in an ordinary coin starts to make more sense, even if extreme price claims represent the absolute upper edge of what could theoretically happen under perfect circumstances. And the 2000D dime, minted in Denver as indicated by the small D mint mark, was produced in massive quantities as part of everyday currency, meaning most examples are only worth 10 cents. But within that vast population lies the possibility of rare minting errors and exceptional high-grade survivors that can command significant premiums in the collector market. And the reason errors matter so much is because they introduce uniqueness into a system designed for uniformity. Every coin is supposed to look the same, so when one doesn't, it immediately becomes special, and these differences can occur at multiple stages of the minting process, from the preparation of the dies to the striking of the coin itself. And even a slight misalignment or flaw can leave a permanent mark that distinguishes one coin from the rest. And among the most sought-after errors are doubled dies, where elements of the design appear duplicated due to a misalignment during die creation, and this doubling can often be observed in the lettering or date, sometimes visible even without magnification if it is strong enough. And then there are off-center strikes, where the coin is not properly aligned during the striking process, resulting in a design that is shifted to one side with part of the blank planchet exposed. And these coins are highly collectible, especially when the error is dramatic yet still preserves key identifying features like the date and mint mark. And clipped planchets are another category, where a portion of the metal blank is missing before striking, creating a distinctive curved cut that is immediately recognizable. And these types of errors are prized not only for their rarity but also for their visual appeal. And beyond these more obvious anomalies, there are also subtle variations such as die cracks, cuds, and die polishing lines that can add value, particularly when they are well defined and occur in interesting patterns. And while each of these factors can increase a coin's desirability, the most critical element in determining value is condition, because coins that have been preserved in near perfect state are incredibly rare, especially for modern coins that were intended for circulation. And grading services like PCGS and NGC evaluate coins on a detailed scale, assigning grades that reflect their level of preservation, and coins that achieve grades like MS68, MS69, or even the elusive MS70 are considered exceptional, with each incremental increase representing a significant jump in quality and often in value. And when a coin reaches these, it enters a highly competitive segment of the market where collectors are willing to pay substantial premiums for the finest known examples. And if such a coin also features a rare and visually striking error, its value can increase dramatically, potentially reaching levels that seem almost unreal to those unfamiliar with the hobby. And this is where the idea of a $15 million valuation comes into play. Not as a typical or widely documented sale, but as a theoretical maximum representing the convergence of perfect condition, extreme rarity, and intense collector demand. And this concept is supported by historical examples of other coins that have achieved multi-million-dollar prices due to their uniqueness and significance, demonstrating that under the right circumstances, the market is capable of assigning extraordinary value to a small piece of metal. And the 2000D dime, while modern, is not immune to this phenomenon, because errors can occur in any year, and some of the most valuable coins ever discovered were initially overlooked because they were assumed to be too common to matter, and this is why collectors emphasize the importance of careful examination, because the difference between an ordinary coin and a valuable one can be incredibly subtle, and identifying these differences requires both attention to detail and a willingness to learn. And if you are interested in checking your own coins, the first step is to gather a magnifying glass or digital microscope and examine each coin under good lighting, focusing on the date, mint mark, lettering, and overall alignment, and look for anything that appears unusual, such as doubling, misalignment, or irregular shapes, and pay close attention to the surface quality, because coins with fewer marks and stronger luster are more likely to achieve high grades, and if you believe you have found something special, the next step is to consult a professional or submit the coin to a grading service for authentication, because certification is essential for establishing credibility and maximizing value in the market, and once a coin is authenticated, it can be offered to collectors and investors who may recognize its significance and be willing to pay a premium to acquire it. And this global marketplace is what drives the prices of rare coins, as buyers from around the world compete for pieces that meet their specific criteria. And in some cases, this competition can lead to record-breaking sales that capture public attention and further fuel interest in the hobby. And this growing interest has been amplified by the internet, where videos, articles, and social media posts highlight the potential for valuable discoveries, encouraging more people to participate and explore their own collections. And this influx of new collectors adds energy to the market, increasing demand and creating new opportunities for those who are willing to invest the time and effort to learn. And while not every 2000D dime will be valuable, the possibility that one could be extraordinary is enough to keep the search alive, and that sense of possibility is what makes coin collecting so compelling, because it transforms everyday objects into potential treasures, and it reminds us that value is not always obvious. It often requires curiosity, knowledge, and persistence to uncover, and as you continue to handle coins in your daily life, consider taking a closer look, because you never know when you might come across something that stands out, something that tells a story, something that could be worth far more than its face value. And as the investigation into the 2000D Roosevelt dime deepens, the conversation naturally shifts toward the advanced layers of numismatic evaluation that only seasoned collectors and professional graders tend to fully appreciate, because beyond the obvious visual errors and surface-level observations lies a more technical framework that determines whether a coin is merely interesting or truly exceptional. And one of the most critical aspects in this deeper analysis is die state progression, which refers to how a minting die evolves over time as it strikes thousands or even millions of coins, gradually developing wear, cracks, and flow lines that can subtly or dramatically alter the appearance of the coins it produces, and identifying an early die state coin, where the design is crisp and sharply defined, versus a late die state coin, where details may appear softer or distorted due to die fatigue, can significantly influence desirability, especially when collectors are attempting to build high-quality sets or identify standout examples from a given year. And for the 2000D dime, which was produced in large quantities, finding coins struck from fresh dies with exceptional sharpness and minimal imperfections is already a challenge, and when such a coin also exhibits strong original luster, free of contact marks and environmental damage, it begins to approach the tier of collectible quality. And this is where grading becomes extremely nuanced, because the difference between an MS-67 and an MS-69 coin may be nearly invisible to the untrained eye, yet it can represent a massive difference in market value, sometimes multiplying the price many times over due to the scarcity of coins at the highest grades. And this scarcity is tracked through population reports maintained by grading services, which provide data on how many coins have been certified at each grade level. And when a coin is among the finest known examples with very few equals or none better, its desirability increases significantly, and collectors who prioritize top population coins are often willing to pay substantial premiums to secure them. And if such a coin were to also feature a rare and well-documented mint error, its status could shift from desirable to extraordinary, creating the kind of demand that fuels extreme valuation discussions. And another important dimension is eye appeal. A somewhat subjective but highly influential factor that encompasses the overall visual impression of the coin, including its luster, toning, strike quality, and surface cleanliness. Because even among coins with the same technical grade, those with superior eye appeal often command higher prices, and this is particularly true in competitive auctions where collectors are drawn to coins that stand out visually, and in the case of the 2000D dime, a coin with vibrant, original luster and attractive toning patterns could attract significant attention, especially if it is paired with a rare error or an unusual die variety. And speaking of varieties, the ongoing study of die pairings and subtle design differences continues to reveal new information about coins that were once considered fully understood, and while no widely recognized major variety for the 2000D dime has reached legendary status, the possibility of undiscovered variations remains, particularly given the sheer volume of coins produced and the fact that many have never been examined in detail, and this potential for discovery is a key driver of interest, because it means that even modern coins can still yield surprises, and as collectors revisit older holdings with improved tools and knowledge, previously overlooked details can come to light, leading to new classifications and increased value for certain coins. And this dynamic process underscores the importance of staying informed and continuously refining your understanding of the field, because what is considered ordinary today may be recognized as rare tomorrow. And beyond the technical and analytical aspects, there is also a strategic element to coin collecting, particularly when it comes to buying and selling, because timing, market conditions, and presentation can all influence the final price a coin achieves, and for a potentially valuable 2000D dime, ensuring proper authentication, professional grading, and effective marketing are essential steps in realizing its full value, and this often involves working with reputable dealers, auction houses, or online platforms that have access to a global audience of collectors, and the broader the exposure, the greater the likelihood of attracting competitive bids, especially if the coin has unique attributes that set it apart, and this competitive environment is what drives prices upward, sometimes beyond initial expectations. As collectors recognize the opportunity to acquire something rare and significant, and while the idea of a $15 million valuation represents an extreme scenario, it illustrates the upper of what could be possible under the most exceptional circumstances, where rarity, condition, demand, and narrative all align to create a perfect storm of value. And even if most coins never approach that level, the pursuit itself remains compelling, because it transforms everyday objects into potential discoveries, encouraging a mindset of curiosity, and that can be applied beyond coin collecting. And as you continue to explore your own coins, remember that expertise develops over time, with each coin you examine contributing to your understanding and sharpening your ability to recognize subtle differences. And this gradual accumulation of knowledge is what enables collectors to identify opportunities that others might miss. And in a field where small details can have enormous implications, that advantage can be incredibly valuable. And the 2000D Roosevelt dime, despite its modern origin, serves as a powerful reminder that rarity is not confined to the distant past. It can emerge at any time, in any year, wherever the conditions allow for something unique to occur. And that is why the search continues, why collectors remain engaged, and why the idea of hidden value persists. Because as long as coins exist, there will always be the possibility that one of them holds a story, a rarity, and a value waiting to be uncovered. And when you push even deeper into the technical core of evaluating a 2000D Roosevelt dime, the discussion moves into areas that only advanced collectors and professional numismatists typically explore, because at this level the coin is no longer just an object but a data point within a highly specialized system of classification, comparison, and market psychology. And one of the most powerful tools in this system is die diagnostics, which involves identifying specific markers left by the die, such as micro-scratches, polish lines, die gouges, and tiny imperfections that act almost like fingerprints, allowing experts to trace a coin back to a particular die pair or production batch. And this level of attribution can dramatically increase a coin's significance, especially if that die pair is associated with a known anomaly or a limited production window. And for a high-grade 2000D dime, confirming that it originates from an early die state with minimal wear and strong strike characteristics can elevate its standing among collectors who prioritize precision and provenance in their acquisitions, and beyond diagnostics. Another critical layer is metallurgical consistency, because although modern dimes are composed of a copper core with nickel cladding, slight variations in composition or bonding quality during the minting process can produce subtle visual and structural differences. And in extremely rare cases, errors such as wrong planchet strikes or improper alloy mixtures can occur, leading to coins that deviate from the standard specifications, and these anomalies are among the most valuable in the entire hobby because they represent fundamental deviations from the mint's intended output. And if a 2000D dime were ever confirmed to exist with such a dramatic composition error, especially in pristine condition, it would instantly become a centerpiece of modern numismatics, attracting global attention and potentially justifying extreme valuation scenarios. And another advanced concept that plays into valuation is surface preservation at the microscopic level, because what appears flawless to the naked eye may reveal minute contact marks, abrasions, or planchet defects under magnification, and grading services take these factors into account when assigning top-tier grades. Which is why achieving an MS69 or MS70 designation is extraordinarily difficult, requiring near-perfect surfaces, impeccable strike, and undisturbed luster, and coins that reach this are often referred to as condition rarities, meaning their value is derived not from low mintage but from the scarcity of examples in such pristine condition, and when collectors compete for the finest known specimen, the price can escalate rapidly due to registry-set competition, where individuals aim to assemble the highest-ranked collections based on graded coins. And this competitive dynamic introduces a strategic element where owning the best example of a given coin becomes a status symbol as much as a financial investment, and this is one of the key mechanisms that can push values into extraordinary territory, particularly when combined with a compelling narrative, because storytelling plays a surprisingly influential role in numismatics. A coin that is not only rare but also associated with a unique discovery, an unusual error, or a notable previous owner tends to capture more attention and command higher prices, and in the case of the 2000D dime, the idea that a modern coin could reach multi-million-dollar status challenges conventional assumptions and creates a narrative that is both intriguing and disruptive, encouraging collectors to reconsider the boundaries of value and rarity. And this shift in perception can have real market effects, as increased interest leads to more intensive searching, more detailed analysis, and ultimately a greater likelihood of identifying coins that stand out from the norm. And as this process unfolds, the role of technology becomes increasingly important, because modern tools such as high-resolution digital microscopes, spectrographic analysis, and online population databases allow collectors to examine coins with a level of precision that was not possible in the past, and this enhanced capability not only improves accuracy but also accelerates the pace of discovery, making it easier to identify subtle variations and share findings with the global community. And this interconnected network of collectors, dealers, and researchers creates a feedback loop where new information is rapidly disseminated and incorporated into the collective understanding of the field. And this is why the numismatic market is constantly evolving, with values shifting as new discoveries are made and new narratives take hold. And for someone examining a 2000D dime today, this means that the potential for discovery is very real, even if the probability of finding an extreme outlier is low, because the act of searching itself contributes to the broader knowledge base and increases the chances that something unusual will be recognized. And from a strategic perspective, this suggests that collectors should not only focus on obvious errors but also pay attention to subtle indicators such as strike sharpness, luster quality, and die state characteristics, because these factors can combine to create coins that stand out in ways that are not immediately obvious. And when such a coin is identified, the next step is to validate it through professional grading and, if necessary, additional expert consultation, because in a market where high values are at stake, credibility and verification are essential, and once a coin is authenticated and recognized as exceptional, it enters a different tier of the market where visibility, marketing, and timing can all influence the final outcome. And this is where auction strategy comes into play, because presenting a coin at the right time, to the right audience, with the right supporting information, can significantly impact the level of interest and competition it generates, and in cases where multiple collectors recognize the coin's significance, bidding can escalate quickly, sometimes reaching levels that exceed initial expectations, and this is how certain coins achieve headline-grabbing prices. Not simply because of their intrinsic characteristics but because of the convergence of rarity, demand, and narrative at a specific moment in time. And while the notion of a $15 million 2000D dime represents an extreme scenario, it encapsulates the upper of what is theoretically possible when all these factors align perfectly. And even if most coins never approach that level, the principles behind that valuation are the same ones that determine value at every level of the market, making this an invaluable framework for understanding not just one coin but the entire field of numismatics. And as you continue to refine your approach, developing both technical knowledge and practical experience, you position yourself to recognize opportunities that others might overlook, and in a domain where the smallest detail can have the largest impact, that awareness becomes your greatest asset, and the 2000D Roosevelt dime, simple as it may seem, becomes a gateway into this complex and fascinating world, where history, science, and economics intersect in the form of a small piece of metal that carries far more meaning and potential than its face value suggests. And if you want to keep uncovering these deeper layers and stay ahead of the curve in identifying coins with hidden potential, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and continue exploring the world of rare coins where even the most modern pieces can hold extraordinary secrets waiting to be discovered. Next, 1991 P Roosevelt Dime USA coin. It's important to be clear from the start that no verified 1991 P Roosevelt dime has ever sold anywhere close to $26 million, and most of these coins remain worth only their face value unless they exhibit rare errors or exceptional condition. But if you're aiming for a highly engaging, viral-style long-form script that builds intrigue around the possibility of extreme value while still grounded in how coin collecting actually works, here is a deep and continuous narrative designed to hold attention from the first second to the last. What if a single 1991 P Roosevelt dime, a coin so small and ordinary that most people never even look at it twice, could secretly hold a value of up to $26 million under the most extraordinary and rare conditions, hiding in plain sight among everyday pocket change while millions of people unknowingly pass it along without realizing what they might be giving away? Because the truth about coin collecting is that value is rarely obvious and often hidden in the smallest details, and the 1991 P dime represents a perfect example of how a seemingly common coin can become the center of intense interest when certain rare factors come into play. And to understand how something like this could even be possible, you need to look beyond the surface and into the mechanics of how coins are made, evaluated, and ultimately valued in the marketplace, because every coin begins as a planchet, a blank piece of metal that is struck under immense pressure by engraved dies, and while the process is designed for precision and uniformity, it is not perfect, and when something goes wrong, even slightly, the result can be a coin that is fundamentally different from the rest, and those differences are what collectors search for, because rarity is the foundation of value in numismatics. And one of the most important categories of rarity is mint errors, which occur when the coin is struck incorrectly due to misalignment, die defects, or planchet issues, and among these, double die errors are particularly sought after, because they create a visible duplication in the design elements, often seen in the lettering or date, and when this doubling is strong and clearly defined, it becomes highly desirable, especially if the coin is also in excellent condition. And then there are off-center strikes, where the design is shifted away from the center of the coin, leaving a portion of the blank planchet exposed, and these coins are visually striking and can command high premiums depending on the severity of the error and the visibility of key details. And clipped planchets represent another category, where a portion of the coin is missing due to an error in the blanking process, creating a distinctive shape that immediately stands out, and these coins are highly collectible because they are both rare and easily recognizable. And beyond these more obvious errors, there are also subtle anomalies, such as die cracks, cuds, and die polishing lines that can add value, particularly when they are prominent and well-defined. And while each of these factors contributes to a coin's rarity, the most critical element in determining value is condition, because a coin that has been preserved in near-perfect state is far more valuable than one that has been worn down through circulation. And grading services like PCGS and NGC use a detailed scale to evaluate coins, assigning grades that reflect their level of preservation, and coins that achieve grades like MS68 or higher are considered exceptional, with each incremental increase representing a significant jump in quality and often in value. And when a coin reaches these highest levels, it enters a competitive segment of the market where collectors are willing to pay substantial premiums for the finest known examples. And this is where the idea of multi-million-dollar valuations begins to emerge, not as a common reality but as a theoretical maximum representing the convergence of perfect condition, extreme rarity, and intense demand, and for a 1991 p-dime to approach anything close to a $26 million valuation, it would need to be a one-of-a-kind specimen, combining flawless preservation with a dramatic and well-documented mint error that sets it apart from all other known examples. And it would also need to capture the attention of elite collectors who are willing to compete for ownership, driving the price upward through bidding or private negotiation, and this dynamic is what has led to record-breaking sales in the past, where coins with unique characteristics and compelling stories have achieved astonishing prices. And while such outcomes are rare, they demonstrate the potential of the market to assign extraordinary value to exceptional pieces. And the 1991 p-dime becomes part of this narrative because it represents the idea that even modern coins can hold hidden potential, challenging the assumption that only ancient or rare historical coins are worth significant amounts. And this shift in perspective has encouraged more people to take an interest in their everyday coins, examining them more closely and learning how to identify features that might indicate rarity. And this process of discovery is one of the most appealing aspects of coin collecting, because it transforms ordinary objects into potential treasures, creating a sense of excitement and possibility that keeps people engaged. And if you want to start checking your own 1991 p-dimes, the first step is to examine them under good lighting with magnification, looking for any signs of doubling, misalignment, or unusual surface features, and paying close attention to the overall condition, including luster, detail sharpness, and the presence of any marks or damage. And if you find something that appears unusual, it is important to research it further or seek expert opinion, because accurate identification is essential for determining value. And if the coin is truly rare, professional grading and authentication will be necessary to establish its credibility and maximize its market potential. And once certified, the coin can be presented to collectors and investors who may recognize its significance and be willing to pay a premium to acquire it. And this global marketplace is what drives the prices of rare coins, as buyers from around the world compete for pieces that meet their criteria, and in some cases this competition can lead to extraordinary results, with prices exceeding expectations and setting new benchmarks for value. And while the idea of a $26 million 1991 p-dime represents an extreme scenario, it captures the imagination and highlights the underlying principles that govern the market, showing how rarity, condition, and demand can combine to create value far beyond what most people would consider possible. And even if you never find a coin worth millions, the knowledge and experience you gain from exploring this world can be incredibly rewarding, giving you a deeper appreciation for the history, craftsmanship, and complexity behind each coin. And as you continue to learn and refine your skills, you may discover coins that hold significant value, adding both financial and personal satisfaction to your journey. And the 1991 p Roosevelt dime serves as a reminder that opportunities can exist where you least expect them, hidden in plain sight and waiting to be uncovered by those who are willing to look a little closer. And that simple act of curiosity can open the door to a fascinating and potentially rewarding pursuit. And as you go deeper into analyzing the 1991 p Roosevelt dime, the discussion naturally extends into more advanced grading nuances and market behavior that most casual observers never consider, because at this level, the coin is evaluated not just as a physical object but as a combination of technical attributes, rarity indicators, and market perception. And one of the key advanced concepts is strike pressure variation, which refers to how evenly and strongly the dies struck the planchet during production, because inconsistent pressure can lead to weakly defined areas on the coin, particularly in high-relief regions like Roosevelt's portrait or the torch on the reverse. And coins that exhibit a strong, fully detailed strike across all elements are significantly more desirable, especially when paired with full torch band separation. A feature often used by collectors as a benchmark for strike quality in Roosevelt dimes, and while the 1991 P dime was not produced with the intention of rarity, the reality is that within large mintages, only a small fraction of coins meet the highest standards of strike quality and surface preservation, and these are the examples that tend to dominate registry sets and competitive collections, because collectors aiming for top-ranked sets prioritize coins that not only meet high numerical grades but also display exceptional eye appeal. And eye appeal itself is a multifaceted concept that includes the originality of the coin's surfaces, the presence of natural toning, the brilliance of its luster, and the absence of distracting marks or abrasions, and even among coins that share the same grade, those with superior eye appeal can command noticeably higher prices, reflecting the subjective but influential role that visual presentation plays in the market. And when you combine high grade with strong eye appeal and a rare mint error, the coin begins to stand out in a way that attracts attention from serious collectors, and in some cases, this combination can create bidding competition that pushes prices well beyond typical expectations, especially when the coin is perceived as one of the best-known examples of its kind. And another important factor in advanced evaluation is population scarcity at the top end of the grading scale, because while millions of coins may exist in circulated or lower mint state grades, only a very small number will achieve the highest grades assigned by professional grading services, and these population reports are closely monitored by collectors who seek to identify coins that are truly rare within their grade tier. And when a coin is listed as top pop or near top pop, meaning it is among the highest graded examples known, it gains additional prestige and desirability, which can translate into higher market value, and this is especially relevant for modern coins like the 1991 P dime, where the difference between a common example and a condition rarity is defined by minute details that require careful examination to detect, and this is why tools such as high-resolution imaging, digital microscopes, and proper lighting setups are commonly used by collectors who are serious about evaluating coins, because these tools allow for the identification of subtle features that might otherwise go unnoticed. And as you inspect a coin, you are not only looking for obvious errors but also for signs of originality, such as unbroken luster that flows across the surface without interruption, indicating that the coin has not been heavily circulated or cleaned, because cleaning can significantly reduce a coin's value, even if it appears visually appealing at first glance, due to the alteration of its natural surface characteristics. And understanding these distinctions is essential for making informed judgments about a coin's potential worth, and in the broader market context. The value of a coin is ultimately determined by the interaction between supply and demand, where supply is defined not just by the total number of coins minted but by the number of surviving examples in a particular condition or with specific attributes, and demand is driven by collector interest, investment trends, and the perceived importance of the coin within its category. And when demand exceeds supply for a particular type of coin, prices tend to rise, sometimes significantly. And this dynamic can apply even to modern coins if they exhibit qualities that are rare within their mintage. And while the notion of a $26 million valuation for a 1991 P dime represents an extreme and highly speculative upper bound, it serves as a way to illustrate the theoretical ceiling of value when all favorable factors align perfectly, including a unique and dramatic error, flawless condition, exceptional eye appeal, and intense collector competition. And even though such an outcome is extraordinarily unlikely, the underlying principles that could lead to high valuations are real and observable in the market, which is why collectors continue to search, study, and evaluate coins from all eras, including modern issues that might otherwise be overlooked, and this ongoing effort is supported by a global community of enthusiasts who share information, compare findings, and contribute to a collective understanding of coin characteristics and values. And as more data becomes available, the ability to identify rare or unusual coins improves, increasing the likelihood that significant discoveries will be made over time, and for someone examining a 1991 P. Roosevelt dime today, this means that attention to detail, patience, and a willingness to learn are essential, because even if the majority of coins are common, the process of identifying the uncommon ones requires a trained eye and a methodical approach, and over time. This practice not only enhances your ability to recognize valuable coins but also deepens your appreciation for the complexity and craftsmanship involved in their production, and whether your goal is to build a collection, invest in rare coins, or simply explore the possibility of finding something unusual, the journey itself offers valuable insights and experiences, and the 1991 P dime, despite its everyday appearance, becomes a gateway into this broader world where small differences can have large implications, and where curiosity and careful observation can reveal opportunities that are not immediately visible, and as you continue to explore and refine your understanding, you begin to see coins not just as currency but as artifacts with layers of meaning, each one carrying traces of the minting process, the era in which it was produced, and the potential for rarity that may only be recognized by those who take the time to look closely. And pushing even further into the analytical side of the 1991 P. Roosevelt dime, experienced collectors begin to evaluate the coin within a broader framework that includes comparative rarity across the entire Roosevelt dime series. Because while a single year like 1991 may appear common in isolation, its relative scarcity in certain grades or with specific attributes can change its position within that series, and this comparative approach is essential when assessing long-term value potential. Since collectors often prioritize coins that are not only rare in absolute terms but also scarce relative to their peers, and in this context, a 1991 P dime that achieves an exceptionally high grade with strong strike characteristics and minimal surface marks may be considered a condition rarity, meaning that while many examples exist, very few survive in that particular state of preservation. And these condition rarities form the backbone of high-end modern coin collecting, where the focus is less on age and more on quality. And another advanced consideration is registry set competition, which has become a major driver of demand in modern numismatics, because collectors who participate in registry sets aim to assemble the highest ranked collection of coins graded by professional services, and rankings are determined by the grades of the coins included. So achieving a top position often requires acquiring the finest known examples of each coin in the set, and this creates competition. For high-grade specimens of coins like the 1991 P dime, especially if only a limited number of coins have been graded at the highest levels, and when multiple collectors are pursuing the same coin type to complete or improve their registry sets, bidding activity can increase, sometimes significantly, which in turn can elevate market prices beyond baseline expectations. And this competitive dynamic is one of the reasons why certain modern coins, despite being produced in large quantities, can still command strong premiums when they meet specific criteria, and in addition to registry-driven demand, investor interest also plays a role, as some buyers view rare and high-grade coins as alternative assets, diversifying their portfolios with tangible items that have historically retained value, and while coins are not typically considered speculative assets in the same way as equities or commodities, certain segments of the market, particularly top-graded and rarer coins, can attract attention from investors who recognize their scarcity and potential for appreciation, and this crossover between collecting and investing further expands the pool of potential buyers, contributing to liquidity and price discovery in the market. And when evaluating a 1991 P dime from an investment perspective, factors such as population reports, historical price trends, and auction results for comparable coins become important reference points, allowing buyers to assess whether a particular coin is undervalued, fairly priced, or at a premium based on its characteristics. And while most circulated examples of the coin remain at face value, the upper echelon of preserved specimens can behave very differently in the marketplace, especially when combined with attributes that are difficult to replicate, such as exceptional toning patterns, original mint surfaces, and strong visual appeal. And in rare cases, if a coin were to exhibit a dramatic mint error alongside top-tier grading and outstanding eye appeal, it could attract significant attention from multiple segments of the market simultaneously, including collectors, investors, and dealers, each bringing their own perspective on value. And this convergence of interest can lead to competitive scenarios where the final transaction price reflects not just the intrinsic characteristics of the coin but also the intensity of demand at that moment in time. And while the notion of a $26 million valuation for a 1991 p dime remains theoretical and represents an extreme upper boundary rather than a documented outcome, it illustrates how the interplay of rarity, condition, and demand can theoretically scale under idealized circumstances, and this concept helps frame the broader understanding of how value is determined in numismatics, where there is no fixed price ceiling but rather a continuum that extends upward based on uniqueness and desirability. And for those actively examining coins, this understanding reinforces the importance of evaluating each specimen on its own merits, rather than assuming that all coins from a given year are interchangeable, because subtle differences in strike, preservation, and surface characteristics can have meaningful implications, and developing the ability to detect these differences requires practice, attention to detail, and familiarity with grading standards, which collectively enable a more accurate assessment of a coin's quality. And as collectors continue to study and share information about coins like the 1991 p dime, the overall knowledge base of the community expands, leading to improved identification of varieties and errors, as well as a more refined understanding of what constitutes rarity within modern issues. And this collaborative environment is a defining feature of the numismatic field, where discoveries are often shared, debated, and documented, contributing to a continually evolving body of knowledge. And for someone entering this space, engaging with this community can provide valuable insights, access to expertise, and exposure to real-world examples that illustrate the principles discussed, and over time, this experience can significantly enhance one's ability to evaluate coins independently, identify potential opportunities, and make informed decisions when acquiring or studying coins. And the 1991 p Roosevelt dime, despite its common origin, serves as a useful case study in how even widely produced coins can become the subject of detailed analysis and interest when viewed through the lens of rarity, condition, and market dynamics, and it highlights the idea that value is not solely determined by age or mintage but by a combination of factors that include preservation, uniqueness, and demand, and as long as these elements continue to influence collector behavior, coins from any era, including modern ones like the 1991 p dime, will remain part of an active and evolving market where careful observation and knowledge can reveal insights that are not immediately apparent. And if you continue exploring, examining, and learning from each coin you encounter, you gradually build the expertise needed to distinguish ordinary pieces from those that stand out, and that progression is at the heart of numismatics, where each coin offers an opportunity to learn something new, refine your judgment, and deepen your understanding of how small differences can carry significant meaning in both technical and market terms. And if your interest lies in continuing to uncover these nuances and staying informed about coins that might hold unexpected value, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and keep following along as more insights and discoveries are shared about the hidden potential within the coins you use every day.